Hello and welcome to another episode of Pipples, Parolees, and a Producer. My name is Billy Cooper. I am the executive producer and showrunner of Pipples and Parolees. I am joined, as always, by Miss Tia Torres, owner-operator of V-Lobos Rescue Center and the begrudgingly lead talent of Pipples and Parolees. What's up, Tia?
How can you be a talent of your own life?
Lead talent, lead cast member?
Well, I mean, no, what I'm saying is that the lead talent of Pipples and Parolees, but Pipples and Parolees is based on our real life. So how do you be the talent of your real life?
The lead, how about lead? I don't know, show lead?
I don't know. It was just a question.
I'm still working on it. We're still working on it.
It's not that serious.
Okay, it's not that hard. Okay, fine. Okay. All right. So, as always, I will big shout out to our non-sponsor sponsor, Chewy.
It's so funny you do that. I think it's time to move on.
Really? How about Purina? No, like what?
No.
How about a dog food? No, no. A Kong? Could you grab
know
Kong
what?
toys?
I wonder if you know what? I know who might sponsor us.
Who's that? Slip Lead?
Royal Canin.
I like Royal Canin. That's my dog. We feed our dog that food.
Well, because our fairy dogfather buys our food from them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So give me I will call Royal Canin.
Okay.
For all Royal Canin, food available in all your, isn't it like a vet specialties shop? Isn't it like a sort of like by prescription kind of food?
I don't know. It's like regular food.
No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this episode we are talking about, we were supposed to have a guest on today's episode. Didn't didn't show. We have a no show on the guest.
Story of our life.
But it was supposed to be Kanani, one of the twins.
Story of my life. Yes, my son that always gets mad because he says I never call him, but I always call Mo first. And I said, it's because every time I call you, you never answer the phone. Every time I text you, you never answer the text. So why should I be surprised that he didn't show up?
I mean, and this was this was probably Kanani's first real sort of episode and participation in the show.
Okay.
The episode statistics on this, the title of the episode is called Devastation.
Mm-hmm.
Originally aired in November 27th, 2020. November 27th, 2010. Okay, so
well, you're only 10 years off.
10 years off, yeah. I know. Jeez. Okay. Episode description. So it's 5 years after Hurricane Katrina and potential adoption for a dog rescued from the disaster sends Tia and one of her twin sons, Kanani, on a road trip to New Orleans. Once there, Tia comes face to face with the devastation that still blankets the city and has no choice but to rescue an abandoned dog stuck in the middle of a lightning storm. Meanwhile, back at Villalobos, Tia and the crew Tia's crew of parolees contends with a potential deadly rattlesnake problem with the help of an unconventional snake wrangler.
So why do we need to do this now? Now that you just read the entire description, like they didn't even have like the, and the rest of the parolees are back in California facing a deadly predator. Something to like leave you.
That would have been great. Yeah. No.
Let's just tell the whole story.
Leave it all out there.
Put it all out there. Yeah.
So, well, wow. This is a very sort of interesting milestone episode because this was your first time visiting New Orleans. What do you remember about that very first trip?
It's funny because I don't actually recall the actual traveling. I just look. I think back and I'm like, which route did we take? I don't remember. But
you must have taken the 10. I mean, we
well, I can tell you we did, only because fast forward to us moving there and we took the 10, and then after we got done moving, we realized that there's such a thing called an Interstate 40, which is way better than the 10 and driving through the desert. So yes, we probably took the 10. And you know what? I think was that the time? Yes, I think that's the time that Kanani and I stopped in a town called, is it Ozone, Texas? And he got up in the center of the town. There was like a statue, or not, like a sculpture, of the town, like the little outline of the town.
Oh, wait, I think I remember seeing this photo.
Was Kanani hanging his ass out?
I think. Well, I mean, I think I've seen too many of those photos, but I
Yeah, I
think.
know. Yeah, but that's what he did. Yeah, I went, hold on, let me take a picture. Just as I went to take a picture, he turned around and pulled it. That's when, hanging a BA. Remember they called them BAs, bare ass was considered like a fun thing. So yeah,
Mhm.
he hung his ass out. Yes, I do remember. I do remember that trip now. See, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, thinking back, I mean, now knowing what you know and where you are now, I mean, like,
It's pretty
did
surreal.
did you ever think like, as you're walking around New Orleans, like, I'm gonna live here one day?
Uh, and looking back and watching the old episode, I said, I feel this connection, and maybe it's because of the dogs that we got from here.
I feel very connected to this place because of our dogs.
But I already had felt it, which is so interesting because I had no intention at that time of moving.
Right.
None. It wasn't even a thought in my head.
I mean, that's something we touch on over the years, which was the Katrina dogs that you wound up taking in California. They came from Louisiana.
Yeah.
I mean, to explain that a little, how did that happen? How many dogs did you have? What was the process like?
Well, all together from the different groups, we ended up with about 60 of them. But on this particular rescue effort, we were shipped, I think, around 40.
We took in 40 Katrina survivors. These were all pit bulls. We had dogs that were very sick, and we had dogs that were injured. We had dogs that were traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been, oh gosh, what was it, like a month already after Katrina had hit, and that's when we got the dogs. So, and then looking at, like, I'm thinking back, I'm looking at all their intake sheets, and they were taking Polaroid pictures as the dogs were being brought in, and looking at these intake sheets, and there was like a location where the dogs were found, which of course at the time, it was foreign to me.
Right.
And now living here, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that dog was found on the street, So
right.
It is very surreal. It's a very haunting feeling. You know, watching the old episode, seeing we were there and not realizing that we would soon be living there.
And I mean, in the neighborhood, when you and Kanani did that drive around in the episode, and you're looking at all the abandoned houses, and you're explaining to Kanani the spray painting on the doors.
Oh, see that on that door? See those symbols? Those are what they used during Katrina. They would mark them with spray paint. All the doors were marked. Rescuers knew not to go in there. The house had been checked already. That still has it on there. Just someone like the Red Cross or someone came by, the police, they knew what was taken out of there, or like if the owners came back.
That's right around the corner, basically.
That's literally across the canal from where we ended up getting our warehouse.
Yeah.
Literally across the canal.
Which is so crazy.
So weird. Yeah.
So weird. And
yeah, we're in the upper ninth ward, and we were in the lower ninth ward.
I mean, and
we were filming.
So, what drew you there was this potential adoption for this little dog, Corey, who is a sweet, sweet little dog. At the time, I don't remember how much thought went into, because I was still just the guy in post, how much thought went into you doing a road trip, because at the time road trips weren't really a thing for the show, nor for you. And especially one going, across the country.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that we did that. I don't remember the decision makers, like why it was considered okay. But it was quite a trip. It was quite a journey.
I mean, over the years, we've talked about the connection that you felt to the Katrina dogs that you had overall, those 40 dogs. And we've talked about this, at 40 dogs at one time, that's like that's a rescue, right?
Yes,
that's a whole, organization, facility. And so you clearly had a connection to these dogs. And so I think it was very much like you wanted to see where they were from. And I know we put a lot of effort into getting access to that school that where Corey was found.
I know.
I mean, it was a little, I remember when that footage came back and I was looking at it from a story perspective, I'm like, it sort of looked like a museum. We in post, there's always this joke from the movie National Lampoon's European Vacation, where they go Big Ben, Parliament, or when they go to see the Grand Canyon, like, all right, yeah, it's a Grand Canyon. It's sort of like, all right, whatever. But I think you and Kanani walking through that school, there was clearly an emotion.
Emotional. It was
Yeah, and
emotional.
Him just being all calm and relaxed about the whole situation, like nothing really happened. It sets your heart at ease, your mind at ease, you know what I'm saying? It's awesome. It's an awesome feeling, you know? And that just shows you how powerful this breed is.
For me, like realizing where Corey ended up, then you start to picture what the dogs went through. And so for Corey to get onto the second floor, that means the building was filled up.
So most of them were found like on the second story, third story, because they were getting out of the water. Is this your little escape route?
You know, I remember one particular Katrina dog named Mouse. She was found in somebody's attic, except there were no stairs to the attic. So how did she get up in the attic? Well, they figured it out. As the water rose, she just kept swimming, and probably holding on to whatever she could hold on to.
Yeah.
The waters rose so high and got up to a window that probably broke from the water, and she just swam through the window and was in the attic and stayed there until someone rescued her. I mean, what these dogs went through.
Yeah. I mean, we're now what? How many? It was just the anniversary of Katrina, right?
It was just the anniversary.
How many years? Like it's almost.
It happened in 2005, so 17 years ago.
17 years. And I mean, the city still really kind of, I mean, in your opinion, do you feel
there's so many blighted houses, so many. New Orleans East, which is a part of New Orleans, is like a ghost town. We're talking entire shopping centers empty.
Well, there's that Six Flags. That's fine. I think finally
Six Flags is the most ominous symbol, in my opinion, of Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, that was one of those places I remember always asking you, because we found out that when I found out there was an abandoned Six Flags, I always asked you, I was like, do you ever get calls about dogs loose in Six Flags? Because
around the outside all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
But matter of fact, we got a dog from Six Flags that we ended up naming Colossus. So after the ride there. But it just never, parts of the city never got built. Now, here's also something that people don't understand is the majority of the damage, now that I live there, I know the terrain. The majority of the damage was down in the lower ninth. Because that's where like the levee broke, I shouldn't say the majority, a good majority of it. That's where it flooded. That's where it was up to the rooftops.
Right.
In the upper ninth ward and further down towards the French Quarter, it did not flood as bad.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, it still flooded, but not compared like down in the lower ninth where the levee actually broke and then the water fell up to the top of the roofs. So, but there were just pockets of the city that didn't get it as bad, but the videos and the pictures speak for themselves. That entire city was underwater at some point, whether it was a little bit or a lot, it was underwater.
Yeah. And it's just such stirring, imagery. And I remember that was the thing. Like that's when we started to see that stuff, and we and I think you even said at one point, oh, we're gonna have to go back. And then soon after, same season, a couple episodes down the road, and we'll talk about it soon, Tanya Mariah went, and then it just became this pull. I mean, it was really, I
will say I am not a city person. I'm a total country girl, country bumpkin, but not now. I mean, this is sad to say because New Orleans has changed so much since the pandemic.
Right.
And not in a good way.
Right.
But when Kanani and I went there and Tanya and Mariah afterwards, there was something really cool about New Orleans. And I do hope that someday it can go back to what it was, because there is something very, very magical about it.
Yeah. I think some of the magic's still there. I think it's covered by a layer of grime and crime and dirt.
Yeah, it's pretty bad right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. It's not the same. It's not even the same at all.
Yeah. I mean, so let's talk a little bit about you leaving the ranch for upwards of a week. Back then, leaving. Now leaving town is a big deal. Back then, leaving town was a big deal. Like, how much anxiety was that? And was there ever a thought of forget this, I'm not going?
I mean, it's because I'm the mom of everything.
Right.
So it's very nerve wracking. I mean, once I'm there, I'm in the moment, where it's really cool. I'm a road warrior. I love to drive. So driving across country was really cool, but you still worry. And
then, how common were rattlesnakes? I don't remember.
For us? I think our record was 22 in one summer
Wow.
that we caught.
And no one ever got bit.
Only one person got bit by a rattlesnake because AJ, my ex, was quite a reptile person.
Okay.
He loved reptiles. And got a bug here. He actually he caught him with his bare hands.
Oh gosh.
He knew how to catch him like right behind the head, So one particular day, one of our employees said, well, I've watched AJ do it. I can do it. And so what happened was when he went to catch the snake was on, I think, gravel or sand. So when he went to push down on him, it sunk in the snake sunk in the sand and had enough wiggle room, no pun intended, to turn around and come back and bite him on the hand.
Oh God.
So when AJ would do it, he would always make sure it was like a hard surface so he could hit
Right.
him.
Sure.
So Josh, this employee, he got bit, which it hurts. But what we found out the very hard way was that apparently Josh must have had like a bee sting allergy, like a toxin allergy, because very quickly he went into anaphylactic shock.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we didn't know. So what happened was he got bit up on the hill, and I forgot who was helping him come down. And then I could hear yelling, like, Josh is turning blue. He's turning blue. I'm like, turning blue? You got bit in the hand. I'm like, what's going on? Like, you don't turn blue.
Right.
And he was. And I could see his neck swelling up. I said, oh my God. And I'm like, Josh, I said, are you allergic to bees? Like, like sting, like toxin?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been bitten by or stung by a bee. And next thing you know, he's like, his throat's swelling up.
Wow.
So our fire station's down the road from us.
Right.
So we just threw him in the back of the truck, and he's like hanging his head out the window, just like spitting up, and it was bad. And got him to the fire station, and they injected him with injectable Benadryl to try to get the swelling down.
Right.
Too far, too gone. Had to airback him to the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They induced his coma he was like an induced coma for days.
From a rattlesnake bite.
Yeah, but because he
had the shot. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, he went into anaphylactic shock because he was allergic. So
that's insane.
So that's it. But that's the only one.
The only one. Okay.
That's the only one.
Fine.
Yeah.
And then no dogs. I remember that was a big deal, especially from the network's point of view, especially when we were doing this story. Like, they always wanted to know, what are the risks? What are the stakes? Why are we doing this so much? And there's always a thought that a snake would bite a dog.
Sure.
So that was always the danger. So, all right. So let's talk about our standout stories. The stories in this episode, obviously the rattlesnake training by our friend Ton. Do you remember Ton?
Yep. Crazy.
And
guy.
you knew Ton through the
through
entertainment biz? Yeah.
Through all my exotic animal people. Yeah. He handled reptiles for the exotic for the entertainment world, like for movie work and stuff like that. He would bring in
So Ton, and then obviously the trip to New Orleans, which started with the Corey adoption, adopted by Jesse Alexander.
Yeah.
And
his name comes up again.
Well, let's talk quickly about the dogs. Taz, you showed 3 Katrina dogs in this episode: Taz, Chili, and then ultimately Corey. What happened to Taz? I remember Taz was around for quite a while. Did Taz?
He was because he had issues. He had to be handled with kid gloves. I mean, he liked to bite people. I mean, we knew his quirks, so we knew where not to touch him and stuff. But he stayed with us until he passed away.
And then same with Chili.
Yeah. I mean, Taz had, in my opinion, probably the most amazing Katrina story. I wish we had told his story.
Oh, what was it?
Oh my God, it's pretty involved. During Katrina, after Katrina, unfortunately, a lot of unscrupulous rescues were showing up to take dogs.
Right.
This is because a lot of the larger organizations like the ASPCA, HSUS, all that, they were offering dowries, like financial money.
Cash, basically cash.
Yeah. To anybody who would take a dog.
Yep.
And so someone like me, I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. It never crossed my mind, ever, that people would show up just to get the money.
Right. Wow.
And what happened was Becky, my volunteer, who's been with me for years, that's how I met her. I met her through Taz.
Oh, that's interesting.
She was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
After Katrina, and she was working with a rescue group that was rounding up dogs. Now, mind you, during this time, there was nothing. Everything was destroyed.
Right.
But the water started to subside.
Sure.
So these dog rescue groups were setting up like makeshift MASH camps in parking lots, wherever they could.
Right.
And
fields. I know we've talked about like open fields.
camps.
Anything.
Yeah. So Becky was with one that was at a Winn-Dixie parking lot.
Okay.
And Taz was one of the dogs that was there.
Wow.
And as the dogs are leaving with rescue groups, it's getting down to the wire where like HSUS is pulling out of New Orleans, ASPCA, like we've done as much as we can do. And this one rescue group had about 30 some pit bulls still.
Wow.
They were getting desperate. So along comes this lady from Arkansas with a big horse trailer. And she says she's a pit bull rescue. She'll take all the dogs. And the rescue group that it was holding onto the dogs like, yeah, take them on. Becky's like, yeah, don't you think you need to check out her references? No. Loaded up all these dogs. And there was something about the woman from Arkansas that everybody's like, there's something about her I just don't trust. And two of the volunteers followed her. They followed her.
Real follow. Wow.
Followed her. And so they followed her into Arkansas. True story. And they saw her go onto a property, where they couldn't go on there because they would know. And I want to say like maybe the next day when the sun came up, like stealth ninjas, they went around on the property, and that's when they discovered, and they said approximately 500 dogs in crates in a field.
What?
Left there. She was collecting the money and dumping the dogs in their crates in this field.
And so Taz was one of the dogs.
Taz was one of them.
And so Taz.
So what ended up happening was, they alerted the authorities. They came in. There was tons of dead dogs. And when Becky found out, Becky's like, "Oh my God!" Because she got attached to this little dog named Taz. Becky flew to Arkansas.
Wow.
She was determined. I know, I'm gonna get emotional. She was determined to find him. And so she walked up and down, and I have pictures of this. She walked up and down the rows and rows of crates and cages, and she found him. He was still alive. That's insane. She brought him back to Sacramento with her.
Right.
And that's what she contacted me, and she says,
and that's how you met.
Becky.
Wow. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew you met Becky through, Becky who we will meet Becky in another future episode.
Yeah. But she's been like a volunteer. She's my volunteer me for years.
Yeah.
25 years.
Right.
And that's how I met her.
Wow.
She brought me this little dog named Taz.
Yeah. And am I wrong? Wasn't Louise part of the reason why you met Louise was also because of the Katrina dogs?
Yeah. Well, I'm not finished with Taz's story.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, it gets insane.
Okay.
This is insane. This is insane. Okay.
Fine. We'll go back. We'll go back to the. Okay. Sorry.
So, part of getting the dowry for the dogs was we had to promise to put up all these dogs on Pet Finder to allow the owners to find them.
Sure. So
out of nowhere, we get an email or a call, I can't remember, from someone who says Taz is their dog. And they described him to a T. Like they said, under his tail, he's got this little notch. It was their dog.
Wow.
We were like, great. Oh my God. So then there was a dowry if you reunited a dog back to its owner. See, it was all about money. Oh yeah. I
mean, how much are we talking per dog? Like just a ballpark.
I think some of it was 500 per dog. Some people were giving 1,000 per dog.
Okay.
Wow. So one of my workers, Sandy, she and her boyfriend at the time made the drive to New Orleans to take Taz back to his owner. Okay.
Yeah.
She gets there and she's met by the wife of the man that called. And she says, okay, is this him? Oh my God, that's him. Yeah, my husband's not home. Go ahead and put him in the backyard. Sandy's like, okay. Sandy goes around to the backyard. There's all these pit bulls chained up to the fence, chain link fence. Okay. One of them was a dog that would be known as Phoenix. And I have his picture. It is.
I remember. Yeah.
Like the chain is so tangled up and he's emaciated. That picture became symbolic of Katrina. Like it's been used by everybody. This picture.
Wow. Yeah.
And there was a Pibble, another female, we named her Pibbles with all her puppies. There were all these dogs chained up. And Louise said, oh, hell no, this dog ain't staying here.
Mm-hmm.
So she made an excuse to go back to her car. And that's when the wife got suspicious. And next thing you know, the neighbors are coming out. It was in a really bad neighborhood. They start getting around Sandy's car. Like, where are you going with that dog? That's not your dog. She said, that's my dog. And so Sandy goes, oh, I'm just getting him some toys. And Sandy literally, she said, I just threw him in the car and I jumped in the car, locked the doors and took off and never looked back.
Wow.
Drove him back to California. Showed us the pictures of all the other dogs there.
Right.
And we reached out to the animal shelter, Jefferson Parish Animal Shelter.
Yep.
They went and confiscated those dogs for us. And those dogs ended up with us as well.
Wow.
So that little dog saved all those other dogs too. I mean, it was an amazing story.
Right.
And of course, the owner called me, was screaming at me, cussing like, the dog's already back here. Yeah, screw you. You ain't getting them back.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, clearly. So there's a lot of emotion and a lot of drama behind all of these dogs.
Yeah. But Taz was just like, man, this, I mean, think about it. He went from New Orleans to Arkansas
to LA.
Sacramento.
Oh, Sacramento to LA.
To us.
New Orleans.
To New Orleans. And then back to California again.
Wow. And then did he make it back to New Orleans?
And then back to New Orleans when we finally moved there. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's amazing, right?
Crazy. Yeah.
I know. So you know what? We always used to say, yeah, he's got an attitude. Fuck, he deserves it. He deserves to have an attitude. Yeah.
And then where did the name Taz, was it the Taz? Was that the name?
Becky gave it to him.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so, I mean, it's funny because I remember in this particular episode, the Thunder Rescue, that was a pretty crazy rescue. Basically caught in the lightning storm. I remember hearing stories from the crew that you guys were out in the lightning storm and it came up on you guys like that. And the crew was looking around at each other and all the camera guys are basically holding lightning rods on their shoulders.
Well, I can see in the shot where you see the camera guy kind of like, the camera goes all over the place because he's like ducking. Whoa, that was close.
Did you see that thing?
Yeah, I saw it. You know what I got out of rewatching the episode is now, because I've been here so long, I'm like, it's just raining.
Right.
That's the weather we have here every afternoon now. Like it's so normal now. Yeah.
Well, it's funny that actually, because as the show matured and as we kept filming, rules became a thing and production insurance and things and whatnot. There were lots of rules and regulations that we had to follow.
Oh yeah.
And in the later years, there became the lightning rules.
Oh, yeah, we got allowed to be out.
We weren't allowed, when all the producers, we would all have maps, radar maps. And when the lightning was within 2 miles, we had to stop shooting whatever we were doing. And I just remember I remember getting so angry over the lightning rule.
It's like, it's like what I used to always say, get me the crew of Deadliest Catch. It's like shit.
I know. But it wasn't the crew that didn't want to do it. It's never the crew. It was always insurance. Always insurance.
Yeah. Sorry, crew. Didn't mean it.
So let's talk about. I know Jesse was not your favorite adopter.
My name is Jesse Alexander. I was born right here in Lancaster, California, and lived in the New Orleans area for about the last 10 years.
No, here's the thing. He didn't turn out to be the person that he portrayed himself to be.
Okay, so you want to talk a little bit about that, or?
I mean, here's the thing. When we met him, he was perfectly nice, super cool. I loved him actually. Loved him. Here's what I remember about the episode. Here's what I remember about the adoption of Corey to Jesse and his family. Again, very nice people, very nice, really liked them. I remember this. I remember when we left Corey at Jesse's house and Jesse put him in a crate. And I'll never forget the look that Corey gave me. I'll never forget it. And I remember going outside and telling Kanani, I said, I don't want to leave him. And I never get like that with a dog. Right. I'm always like, yay. And I said, I don't want to leave him. And I remember, kind of like, oh, mom, you'll be fine. I'm like, what? And I don't know if the audio picked it up, but I remember saying it. I remember like just sitting there going, man, I don't want to leave him. I don't know if it was the way Corey was looking at me. I don't know if it was a feeling, but I remember telling Kanani, I don't want to leave. Did Kanani go with me, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I can't remember. I remember telling Kanani, I just had, I don't know. I didn't want to leave him.
Right.
I didn't want to leave him. And I guess, I don't know. I mean, it's cheesy. Maybe he was trying to tell me something. I don't know.
Right.
But sometime later, I can't remember the exact time frame because it was so long ago. We got it was either a phone call or an email from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say a neighbor who told us that we needed to come get Corey back,
Wow.
that he was in really bad shape.
And so that and just so everyone's, that did not happen on camera. That I think
No.
memory serves, it was actually in between seasons, and so we didn't have cameras. And
well, that's what I mean. It's like it's so far long ago. There's something.
And also, I think the other thing also in hindsight, looking back, I mean, obviously the show kept morphed and changed and things like that. But I think a lot of what we tried to do in those early seasons was we didn't want to show stuff going badly, like especially when it came to the adoptions, because because also I think it was we wanted to make sure you spent so much time picking the adopters and making sure the adoption was the right home.
Well, that was a network decision. I don't have a problem showing shit,
Right. But I think that was the thing. Like we wanted. I think the network wanted to appear you were infallible when it came to adoptions, which
obviously I'm not, because I can't fucking remember 10 years ago. Okay. So, and then I remember it almost started to go south.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the Good Samaritan kind of hinted that he wanted money.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going to hold this dog for ransom. Yeah.
Wow.
Because he was a TV dog.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So without going into all the details, because it's taking so long, we ended up taking Corey back.
And then what ultimately happened to Corey?
We got him a new home, and he stayed there for his remaining days. Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah. So, not cool.
Yeah. So,
And by the way, he never contacted us. The wonderful adopter didn't even contact us. Didn't even say like, "Where's the dog?"
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go down to so I think it's fair to say that the standout storyline for this episode was the trip to New Orleans, without question.
Yeah.
Without question. Just because of what it ultimately led to going down the road. So our first in this episode, your first time in New Orleans. This was actually, I think, the first time that we showed you working with agility equipment. We had Corey on the A-frame and the and the box and things like that. Mm-hmm. It was sort of, I that shot always kills me. I remember you had Corey trying to jump up on the box, and he jumps up and he like hits his tummy on the box. He hits his belly on the box. It's like, oof.
You can do it. Nope. You're a big boy. Oh. Come on.
Such a, and then obviously this was, like we said, this was Kanani's first featured episode where he was really sort of, I mean, he was in this episode a lot, and
by the way, for the record, I need this to be known that when we rescued Thunder and we were running in the rain, and then you heard the thunder strike, and then you heard screaming.
Yeah,
that wasn't me. That was
it was Kanani.
Oh my God, that was like right there. That was too close.
It was Kanani.
It was Kanani.
But the thing is, it only shows me, and I'm like, oh my God, that looks like I'm the one screaming. Sorry, son, got to throw you under the bus. That's what happens when you don't show up for the podcast.
Right, exactly. Maybe you'll show up next time. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So time machine moment, looking back. I mean, maybe not the right home for Corey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there were no signs. There were no signs. There were no signs.
But I mean,
no. Let me take it further. I wish I had listened to my instinct when Corey was giving me a look that he didn't want to stay there, and I wish I would have taken him.
Because the thing is, it's one of those things you don't want to not do the trip to New Orleans, because had you not done the trip to New Orleans, who knows? That's a sort of like moment of like, who knows where that leads? But yes,
I wish I'd listened to Corey. I wish, like I said, the house was beautiful, everything was beautiful, his other dog was beautiful. It was just something the way Corey was looking at me.
All right, I will spare you the MVP and PMP.
Oh,
we will skip it. I'll skip it. And with that, I think I can sort of, we can wrap up another episode of Pitbull, Parolees, and a Producer. We are this is almost the halfway point of season 2. So everybody stick around. We have more episodes to come. Lots of season 2 goes pretty hard. We get a lot of crazy things that happen come in the next couple of episodes. So stick around. More episodes to come. Tia, thanks for hanging in.
Oh, yeah, my butt
going down
hurts.
memory lanes in in New Orleans. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We will talk to you soon. Thanks.
I gotta go find another pillow for my butt. Just putting that out there. Just putting that out there, man.
Look great.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.